recording this event, so it will be on YouTube after we're finished tonight. We have a lot to cover and a quick exercise to do by the end, so I want to get started right away. Super grateful for those of you who are joining live. If you want to jump into Zoom, there is an opportunity to win a roller of one of the Aroma Freedom blends. So please come on over to Zoom so that we can do that together. By way of introduction, let me just say I'm grateful for this time. I'm actually in California at the moment, getting ready for a full weekend with my family. And so this makes that all the more important and valuable to be able to talk with you about microplanning, especially as we are. Just make sure, Lucinda, give me a thumbs up if you see the presentation. Okay, awesome. I wanted to make sure that was there and not just my face. Okay, so that gives a whole new meaning to microplanning. I am going to bust through a quick introduction about myself. Some of you this may be your first encounter with me as one of the Living Well Now leadership team members. I am the eldest daughter of Deborah and John, and I trained to be a teacher in communication and started using the oils at my mom's insistence in 2007 when I was a new stay-at-home mom. Well, work from home mom. I never really had the stay-at-home life. I always had something going, which some of you are in the same boat, I know, so that adds to the chaos. But I became and really kind of designated myself as a health and business coach with Living Well Now as I was teaching and single parenting after my divorce in 2012, and then was able to resign from my teaching career and just focus on my family and growing my Young Living team. In that time, I also added on becoming a spiritual director or coach, somebody who can walk alongside someone seeking greater fulfillment. And continue to share my wisdom, my insights, just sort of my experience, especially from having walked through a divorce and the messiness of relationship after that and how you get started again and that second chance. So some of what I'm going to teach tonight are things that I have taken away from that experience that are serving me well in the current time. I got remarried 3 years ago to a beautiful man named Jerry. Some of you will know Jerry Stuckert as my husband. And all together, we have 4 still in their teenage years, 19, 18, 17, and almost 16. But right now, our focus as a family is in deep grief, having just lost my mom in November of 2022. So I'm sure some of you can relate to some of the difficulties and challenges that come when you are emotionally invested in a particular time or season. Just to give a quick disclaimer, the information that I'm going to present tonight is from my experience and my insights. I'm going to use a strategy that I learned as part of my training. But if you are really finding yourself in a dark and difficult time, I highly suggest that you seek professional treatment. I've been in therapy myself for the last 15 years consistently. That's been a really important part of my growth and development. And I can't stress enough how important it is to seek out the professional opinions that you need. Our goal as a community has always been to bring people together and also to change the shape and face of health and wellness. And so through sharing our successes and hope and freedom and wellness, we hope we're kind of giving you permission to seek after and to really choose a life of wellness, purpose, and abundance. So as I mentioned at the beginning, some of you may be feeling a little bit of that chaos. I'm going to write in the chat right now a quick attendance check-in to make sure to give away that roller, so you can fill that Google form out and let me know a little bit about you so that you can be entered to win one of the attendance gifts that we have for attending live tonight. Awesome. I'm glad to see some more people joining. That's awesome. So use that form link in the chat comments. And if you're on Facebook, jump on over to Zoom. I'd love to see you. I'd love to know that you're here with us as well. So we know that we're living in chaotic times in general, right? As a society. death, destruction, natural disasters, change of plans. Sometimes there's additional stressors because of work situations, or we're just going through a myriad of emotions depending on what's going on in our personal life. Perhaps you're like the mom on the right who's really feeling downtrodden by multiple children. It's been spring break this month for a lot of families. So that changes the shape and sort of makeup. And I had a hard time last week when my son was on spring break, and he's 17 years old and pretty darn independent, but it changes our emotional and mental state. And in these chaotic times, it is still possible to set goals and reach them. It's just going to seem a little bit different. That looks like and feels like this woman who's just taking a moment, right? Just give me a moment. I need to take a break. Hold, full stop, whatever it is that you need to say to just bring yourself into centeredness. It may look like sitting cross-legged. It may look like uncrossing your legs and planting your feet firmly on the ground, recognizing that you are grounded. It may look like a hand over your chest to feel the beating of your heart. It may sound like a deep breath in and a release. There are 5 basic steps that I found to be successful and helpful to me in micro-planning. And I shared these out today in various places. If you haven't seen this graphic and you want to save it to your phone, take a screenshot or look for it later on Facebook. I posted it on my Facebook account, Angela Lehman, and also in my Instagram, also under Angela Lehman. But these are the 5 steps that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to practice as you prepare for the coming month. Tomorrow starts April 1st, and that's no joke. April 1st, April Fool's Day begins tomorrow, which is also the sign of the new quarter. So we've already come through January, February, and March, and now we're going to head into April, May, and June, sometimes referred to as the second quarter. Now, as a teacher, I was always mindful of the start of school and semesters. So one of the things that's going to happen in the next 3 months is the end of school for a lot of our school teachers. So keeping that in mind as a parent and as an educator and as somebody who is on rhythm, think about how you count days and months and put those together for yourself, but get present about that, number 1. Number 2, what are your current needs and wants? Number 3, what is your inner wisdom telling you? Number 4, ask yourself, what's the next best step? What's my next best step in this moment? What do I need to do next? And number 5, find accountability to make it happen. So let's break these down. First of all, get present. So it may be some deep breaths like we did a minute ago. It may be about centering yourself. If you're an oiler, oil up if that's your thing. Find an oil that calms you. Stress away is one of my favorites for that, to just help sort of Calgon take me away, right? Stress away, take me away. But then open your calendar. Now, I'm still a pen and paper girl, or pencil and paper. So I actually use the Passion Planner. It's been my go-to for the last 5 years, probably of my life. But you're going to open a calendar. Maybe you keep yours on your phone and it's electronic. And then do a quick overview of March and assess your priorities. Gosh, maybe go back to January even. What did you set out this new year thinking would be most important in your life? And have you been able to keep that in mind as you are learning and growing and changing and as days are passing? Are those most important things still the most important things? Or have they been replaced by things that are more urgent or more important? Assess that. Then ask yourself, am I satisfied with how I've spent my time? And I'd love to hear from you in the chat on any of this. Are you satisfied with how you've spent your time the last 3 months? Or are you kind of like, what? It's almost April? I know a lot of people are in that kind of shock of, wait, where did the first 3 months of the year go? Wasn't it just Christmas? And then ask yourself, what are you most proud of accomplishing? Instead of dwelling on what you didn't get done, what are you most proud about? Even from March, from February, from January, what are you most proud of? And then how are you different between January 1st and today? For me, I find when I ask these reflection questions, it helps me center on what might need to change. Now, not saying everything is adjustable. Some things, those urgent and important priorities that have cropped up unexpectedly, an illness, a family member's needs, a job loss, extra emotions from particular circumstances in your life. I'm not saying those aren't high priority, but name them. Showing up for those experiences, showing up for my grief in the last 3 months. My to-do list may not have a lot of check-offs next to it yet, but I've shown up for my family. I've shown up for quiet. I've shown up for rest. I've shown up for self-care. Y'all, I'm so proud that I have protected my immune system well enough that I didn't deplete myself to the point where I was affected by bugs around me. That's important to me. Was that a priority when I started out January? Don't get sick? No, but protecting my immune system was important to me, and I want to celebrate that. So reflect, consider, and also keep in mind that goals should start at a time for change, or that you need to change something. Maybe you set arbitrary goals in January because everyone was setting a goal, or everyone was choosing a word of the year, or everyone was making vision boards. So give yourself grace and change it if it needs to be changed. Adjust. One of my favorite phrases in teaching was always when plans didn't go like they were expected. Modify and adjust. Rain at lunchtime, indoor recess. Every teacher's bane of existence, right? Modify and adjust. We still have to keep doing that for ourselves in a regular basis. I'm so glad to hear your comments in the chat about ending a program that you started, getting guardianship and legal papers figured out, taxes, that kind of thing. It's awesome to just recognize how much more balanced you are emotionally since the holidays, whatever it is. Good for you. So if you're just setting a resolution for tradition's sake, then your motivation is going to lack because you have not set a goal because of a need. So think about this wellness wheel that I copied and pasted here on the screen in front of you, those of you who are watching, and ask yourself, what are the key themes that I want to expand on and bring into focus next month or next quarter, and what are my desired outcomes? So this wellness wheel covers all the facets of a balanced life. So perhaps there are only 3 out of the 8 that feel super important to you right now for this next quarter that are going to, that may have been diminished in the first quarter. And so now you're going to stretch a little bit in those. So your mind and emotion is one. Your health and wellness, including your fitness and your nutrition, is a second. Your relationships, legacy and giving. How are you pouring into your community? What are you doing for your finances in the next 3 months? How are you connecting to spirituality or religion in a way that is meaningful to your experience of that? Maybe you've been lacking the last few months in lifestyle and fun. Or perhaps you're adjusting purpose through a career change or your mission. But this is a great wellness wheel to screenshot and make some notes about. What are your current needs and wants? Are you clear about what you're expanding and in what area they are? So maybe the beginning of the year was getting some things finished up, legal things, things that started at the end of last year, program of study, whatever it is. And maybe now your current needs and wants shift, because now you say, oh, I really wish that I could expand more fun with my girlfriends because or binge watch more programs. Or perhaps I'm thinking about how I've neglected the community of people that I work with outside of work hours, or my network, and I'm going to pour back into them. I know for me, in the first quarter of the year, I was limited in one of my networking groups. My attendance was limited, my participation, my engagement was limited. And so part of my goal in quarter 2 is to become more engaged, purposefully. This is another way to look at it. Start to kind of dream for yourselves small, not a year from now, but right now. What are words that you're going to live by? What are goals that you will achieve? What are things that you're prioritizing? Actions, activities. And how are you showing up for those things? One of the ways that I depicted this at the end of February that I want to teach you about is I made a pic collage. And let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, here it is. I made a pic collage at the end of February because these were things that I wanted to focus on in, nope, that's not it. That was January's. These were things that I wanted to focus on in the month of February. It's on my screen. How do I show you? Anyway, I made a pic collage, right? Like just a collage of photos with quotes, words I would live by, pictures of things that were important to me, people that I wanted to spend more time with, intentions that I wanted to have. You could make it completely out of words. It's super easy to pull down quotes or photos or things that are valuable to you. And we're always doing things on our phone, right? So visually, I made this board. I wouldn't call it a vision board. I'd call it a monthly board. Words I would live by, actions I would take, people I love, how I was showing up, in what space, what attitude. And then as part of that, goals that I choose to achieve for the coming month. That worked so well for me last month. I'm going to do it again. Small little steps. And it's on my desktop of my computer. I don't know how to show you though. My desktop's a mess. I've got stuff over it, but every day I see it. Every day I focus on it. Every day I remember what I set out to do in the month of March. And I'm going to do the same thing for April. If you're finding value from this, tell me in the chat what you're learning, right? Where are you making shifts and changes? How to get more bonding, prioritizing business, fitness, looking too overwhelming in January, coming out of the holidays. I feel you, girl. Totally feel you. So after you've made these lists, then choose one goal that would have the most positive impact on your life. What's the one thing? Because goodness knows, we can get bogged down with 12, 8, 1,700 goals, right? Prioritize the one goal that would have the most positive impact on your life. And remember to focus there, because in order to make something happen, you have to channel the power of absolute clarity and commitment. So on next Wednesday, I'm going to do a full aroma freedom session to help with that focus. So we're going to talk about your goal, what that one goal is, and maybe what's holding you back from achieving it. And this aroma freedom session uses the power of essential oils to help dissolve negative thoughts that are keeping you from prioritizing and focusing on the goal at hand. I'll tell you more about how to sign up for that at the end. But prioritizing and then focusing on that one thing out of your collage, right? Out of your many choices, one thing that's going to have the biggest or most positive impact on your life, that's the thing to chase in this first month, either the first month of the quarter or next week or the week after, right? Figuring it out. What do you want your life to look like in this small micro plan? Not a year from now, but right next week, right after Easter, right before we end the month of April. Prioritizing and focusing. I love this idea of getting still and listening for that still small voice inside us, because knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. We tend to want to find wisdom from all these other sources and all these other places, but God has planted that wisdom within our hearts. And if we just get still enough and we just take time enough, we can find that inner wisdom. So some of you may not know, some of you may, oily people, fragrances have a powerful impact on your emotional state. So when you take a whiff of an essential oil, the airborne odor molecules travel up your nose to your olfactory receptors, which then relay messages to other parts of your brain. Your sense of smell is the only one of the 5 senses that is directly linked to the limbic lobe of the brain, which means there's no neuro processing, there's no neurocortex processing that has to happen here in the front part of your brain. It all happens because of the olfactory gland. So sesquiterpenes increase blood oxygen levels in the brain. And where are sesquiterpenes found? In essential oils. So the stimulation of both aroma and oxygenation seems to affect the amygdala, which is part of the brain that plays a major role in emotional processing. And so that actually facilitates the release of stored emotional blocks. So when you're listening for inner wisdom, or you're having trouble calming your mind, stilling the voices and the monkey brain, right, that you're chasing around and like, how do I focus on the one thing? And you're asking me to prioritize the one thing. This is that third step of the micro-planning process, which is listen for your inner wisdom. So what we're going to do next is a process that I learned from Dr. Benjamin Purkis. Dr. Purkis has been a clinical psychologist since 1995. He gives incredible presentations. You can follow him at Aroma Freedom Academy and get a lot of really great value from classes and things that he does. But what I've done is I've tried to simplify some of his techniques to be specific for you. So tonight, what we're going to do is take a moment to consider, as you're thinking about all of this, that inner wisdom piece, the priorities, what you've done in the last 3 months that's been significant, that you feel good about or that you want to change. And I want you to just bring to mind the thing that scares you the most. What's your biggest fear at the moment? What's your biggest fear at the moment? You can type it in the chat if you want. You can just keep it still to yourself. You can write it down if you're taking notes. Yeah, failing, fear of failing. Biggest fear. So in 60 seconds or less, identify that situation and then name the feeling that you have about the situation. So it could be just fear, right? But if you look at the feelings wheel that I've printed on the screen in front of you, you could also, out of that feeling of fear or scared, it could be anxious. It could be the risk of feeling foolish, discouraged, confused. What's one feeling, maybe more specific, about what scares you? Pick one feeling. Lucinda, thanks for sharing that. That could be a feeling of insecurity, right? If I don't know my work hours, I might not have a job, or I might not work with my schedule, or I may have to adjust some other things. So it makes us feel insecure. So fear, but more specifically, insecure. Locate that feeling in your body, maybe in your chest, maybe in the tenseness of your shoulders, maybe in kind of an upset stomach. And then identify the negative thought that goes with that feeling or situation. And once you've brought that together, that memory complex, situation, feeling, where you feel it in your body, and the negative thought connected to it, take an essential oil, or if you're not an oiler, take a lemon or an herb or anything you've got that's fresh, that has a scent, an onion for crying out loud. I have a blend here in my lavender bottle of frankincense, lavender, and stress away all mixed together. This is what somebody's going to take home for filling out the attendance sheet. Put an oil in your hand, cup your hands over your nose and mouth, making a scent tent, and breathe into the situation, the feeling, where you feel it in your body, a negative thought. Write down any clear thinking ideas that come to you in that breathing. What clarity do you have? What insights? What positive steps can you take moving forward? It may be that fear is masking sadness. It could be that fear is there alongside anger. And you may need to do this a couple of times. Again, super simple process. Take a screenshot, walk yourself through it. I have no magic secret other than this is the recipe. Just follow the recipe. Maybe it's enough of a blocker that you want to come back next Wednesday for the Aroma Freedom session and use this a few different times to unpack the blocks and why you're not moving forward through it. So then you're asking yourself, what do I do next? Not just about the blocks, but what do I do next about my goals in this micro planning, right? Done some self-assessment and reflection. We've gotten clear. We've started to determine what what our goals may look like. We're also trying to get out of our own way about what's freaking us out in the moment. So what's the next action step that you take? Maybe it's finding your calendar and digging it out from the piles that you maybe couldn't find it already yet. Maybe it's getting a new calendar. Maybe it's just pulling one off the wall. Maybe it's opening up your phone, jumping back into making a plan. Maybe it's the action of making a pic collage of photos that help you center on your goals and direction for this coming month. But let's talk about what it means to be in action. Action is, action is the steps that we take next, right? The physical things that we do next. So what is it that you can change? What is in your power to change? And what small action can you take? I saw in the chat that there's some concern about schedules and locations and some decisions that aren't in your control. If those ultimate decisions aren't in your control, how do you take action on the things that are in control? Is it about opening up communication with those who are making the decisions? Is it about coming up with a plan B in case plan A doesn't work out? Is it starting small in places where it can work for you? Starting smaller than maybe what you were anticipating, a smaller segment. Some small action in the right direction of your goal will keep you moving forward. Einstein once said, you cannot solve a problem on the level of consciousness that created it. So in solution mode, coming up with actions is stepping out of that old consciousness now that we've done some breathing through it with our essential oils, taking the next best step forward, the next best action. The other thing that we do to kind of bring this all together is we make some affirmations. We come up with some anchors, right? Things that are going to anchor in this new belief about ourselves. So I love, somebody just said to me recently how important it is to think in ink. So write some things down, type them, write them physically, putting them down on paper. In our business, we use a goal tracker, an abundance tracker, where we keep track of some key numbers that help show our progress in our business. But you may have other ways that you're keeping track of your goals that you can write down as well. Sales, volume, things like that. Create a visual representation, maybe like the collage, or maybe it's something statistical with like Excel documents and numbers and things like that. Maybe it's about an affirmation that you need to write. And then when you can anchor that in with oils and a power pose, you can really turn a lot of things into a daily practice that will help you push through to that other side, outside of your normal consciousness into that next level consciousness. So remember, a power pose, this was studied by Amy Cuddy at Harvard. You can look up her TED Talk to learn more about power posing, but it's physically standing in a position of power once a day for 2 to 3 minutes. You don't even have to have an affirmation with it, y'all. You can just put your hands on your hips like Wonder Woman for 2 to 3 minutes and just breathe in this position. Maybe your arms are outstretched above your head. Maybe they're folded in prayer pose. Maybe they're clasped over your heart. But a power pose expresses the energy of your affirmation or the energy of your intention. So again, if affirmations aren't your thing, we'll talk more about those on Wednesday. If they're not your thing, just do the power pose 2 to 3 minutes a day. Brush your teeth, stand in a power pose. It will change the level of your confidence based on research at Harvard. Pretty cool. And then the last step of micro planning is to find accountability. Accountability. A friend, a trusted colleague, maybe an accountability group where somebody is leading intentional time every week for you to bring back what's been successful about your week and where you need accountability to do the thing again next week. Maybe accountability looks like time blocking your calendar so that you can prioritize your game-changing goal and not allow things that aren't urgent or not important to take precedence over the things that you've decided are your priority for this coming month. Chart your progress visually, see progress, and show evidence that you're moving in the right direction. Maybe you need to hire a coach. And consider the ways that you're going to celebrate milestone accomplishments along the way. So I know one of you in our group today is expecting to finish a program of study. So celebrate the heck out of being finished as if, and you can start working on that now because you're going to act as if it's already happened. So plan the party that is a celebration for your huge accomplishment. Plan the small thing you're going to do for yourself, a cup of coffee or a special cookie or donut that you're going to do for yourself because you accomplished this thing over and over again as part of your goal. And now, last but not least, allow for grace. We have to expect obstacles along the way. In fact, there's a book entitled Obstacles Are the Way. If we get comfortable and familiar with obstacles blocking our path, then we expect that we are going to run into them. And we expect then that our response is one of grace. We have to expect that change is the only constant in life, because no matter how small or insignificant or straightforward a goal is, there's always a chance for an obstacle. So to keep your optimism, identify the obstacles as much as you can ahead of time, and then create plans that are going to help you avoid the barriers. So again, that's part of micro planning. Make small movements in the right direction. Take baby steps to change the ending. You can't go back and change the beginning, and you may not even know what the end looks like in a year from now, but what do you know you can adjust and change in small incremental steps that will get you a little bit closer to your goal in April. So maybe you're internally scared to death to bring a goal to fruition, or feel like you don't deserve it. Maybe you just won't let yourself do it. Maybe there's something holding you back. There's maybe hidden barriers that you hadn't thought of. We're going to go through those on Wednesday next week. But the best step to take to achieve a big stretch goal, so if something just seems a little bit out of reach, is to understand very deeply why you want the goal and what motivates you to achieve sustained progress toward that goal, and address proactively your greatest fears about reaching it. So my next session is next week on Wednesday. I will also be teaching an in-person class in Peoria, Arizona on the 4th, along with a couple of colleagues, about our emotions. So if the emotional side of this kind of touched you tonight, you can find that on the live stream next Tuesday night in our lifestyle group, or you can come live to the Peoria class. And if you've never been exposed to oils before, you can get started with some of these aromas to help really tap into your inner wisdom that maybe you haven't discovered before. So check in with the person who invited you to tonight's class so that you can be kind of opened to all of the opportunities to earn, to get your products at a discount. And of course, if you want some of the oils that help sort of go deeper into some of these feelings and emotions that could be holding you back, you can always order the feelings kit on Loyalty Rewards, which is best option I've seen for really tackling some of the harder topics. Release Oil, Inner Child are two of my favorites from the feelings kit, as well as Valor, Forgiveness, and Present Time. Gosh, I kind of like them all. Harmony as well. So the breakthrough group is coming. It may have a new title. That'll be our monthly group that will start in a couple of months. Right now I'm offering small group sessions. Next Wednesday night session is $35 for a 75-minute opportunity to go through the aroma freedom and really dive deeper. And I am offering solo sessions as well. You can find all of that information on my website at AngelaLehman.com. I really truly believe that you were called here tonight to, perhaps like me, kind of get unstuck from some of the big barriers that are holding you back, and just being ready to take that next baby step closer to your goal and dream is my greatest privilege, to kind of guide the path and make space for your next best endeavors. Thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you all. And if you are interested, if you haven't filled out the Google form yet, I am going to put together a a winner for that. I just didn't time this well. So I will put together a winner for that, and then I'll email out the responsibilities and the or the winner information, and I'll put it in the comments in the lifestyle group as well. Thanks so much for joining live. Thanks for your participation in the chat too. That really made a huge difference to me. Blessings on your evening and for our experience together. It's been great to be with you all. Bye.